Another way of solving the same inequality as in the previous part is not by drawing a graph. So some of you girls might find this easier to do. Okay, so basically what you do is step one. Okay, let me just get the pen back on. So step one, let's ignore the inequality sign. Okay, so I'm looking at that inequality sign and I'm going to ignore it. That means this graph is going to go like, okay, well, this inequality is then going to look like 3x minus 1 absolute value is equals to 2. Now, once you get to this point, you say like, okay, I know how to do this because I've done this in the advanced course, because this separates into two parts. This and 3x minus 1 is equals to negative 2. Okay, so that means 3x is equals to 3 and x equals to 1. This side is 3x is equals to negative 1 and x equals to 1/3 negative. Okay, these are what we call key values that we will use in the next step. Now, once that is done, then step 2 is we're going to draw a number line and test the regions. So what this means is I'm going to look at this, I'm going to draw the number line, and what regions are we talking about? We're talking about the regions separated by the key values. So we're talking about negative 1/3 and 1 that you found just now. Okay, these two values obviously divides the number line into three portions: portion 1, portion 2, and portion 3. Okay, so I'm going to pick a value in each one of these portion and region. Doesn't really matter what, but let's pick an easier value, which is negative 1, 0, and 2. Okay, you could have chosen negative 10 if you want to, or if you can for region 1, but it doesn't really matter which one you choose. So once you've done that, how we're going to test it is for region 1. If I chose negative 1 as my x value, I'm going to substitute that back into the original inequality. What that means is x equals to negative 1. That's the value I'm testing. So absolute value of 3 times negative 1 minus 1, do I less than 2? Is that less than 2? That's what I'm trying to see. So on the left hand side, this is absolute value of negative 4 is less than 2. Now absolute value gets rid of the negative sign, so 4 is less than 2. No, I do not want this section. Okay, for the second section, when x equals to 0, I'm going to substitute it back to the original inequality. 3 times by 0 minus 1 is less than 2. Is that true? Well, that makes negative 1 absolute value is less than 2, and positive 1, positive 1 is less than 2. Is less than 2, and that is correct. Okay, now let's go to question 3. The region 3 is when x equals to 2. That's the value I picked. As I said, you could have picked x equals to 10. It doesn't really matter. Okay, as long as within that region, we're okay. So the absolute value of 3 times by 2 minus 1 is less than 2. Is that true? That means the absolute value of 5 is less than 2. Is 5 less than 2? Absolutely not. So I don't want that region. That means I want the region in between these two key values, and that's my solution. So I say, okay, well, that means x has to be in between negative 1/3 and 1.